As motoring journalists, we get to drive all sorts of cars. But hey, times are tough and people are looking for more affordable options. This is the Suzuki S-Presso. Now this comes under just 163,000 Rand. What does this get you and how does it drive? Well, let's find out. Alright, so let's start with the basics. First things first, you have your steering wheel with all the controls. I mean, in a budget car, that's a plus, right? And you get electric windows. Above those controls, you get your 7-inch infotainment screen. Now in the S edition, you get a 9-inch screen, which of course the only difference is you get a rear camera. Not that you're going to be needing it in such a small car. Other little nice things to have is of course the aircon. You also get a 12-volt socket and a USB input. A surprising little feature, you also get a stop-start function. Besides the normal functions you usually find, like your settings, fuel consumption, and radio, the infotainment system is also compatible with Apple Carplay and Android Auto, which makes me a happy camper because I like my music. The dash area is a bit plasticky, but of course that should not be a worry because what do you expect in such a budget car? Although the interior space is not that big, it is adequate to carry 4 hot things like myself in the car. What else do you need? All right, let's go. So under the bonnet is a 3-cylinder 1-liter engine that is good for 49 kilowatts and 89 newton meters of torque. So the drive is actually not that bad. I mean, in a car like this with such little power, you don't expect it to do miracles. You're trying to get from point A to B comfortably. It comes in 2 guises, an automatic and manual transmission. Now we are in the manual transmission, but surprisingly though, the automatic is more fuel efficient than the manual. Suzuki claims a 4.2 litre per 100 kilometers for the automatic and 4.4 for the manual. How surprising is that? Either way, it is actually quite good and great for your pocket. Now let's talk safety. The Suzuki S-Presso comes with ABS as well as ABD. What is ABD, you may ask? Well, maybe look it up. I'm joking, I will tell you. It is electronic brake force distribution. Now what does that mean? It means that it brakes each wheel individually for added control. Unlike some of its other counterparts, you get 2 airbags in the S-Presso, one for the driver as well as the passenger. You're not convinced? Watch this. Feel better driving a smaller car? I know I do. Now the brochure says this car has SUV-like styling. I mean, if I were to compare it to an animal, I'd say it looks a little bit like a pug. Like ugly, cute at the same time. It's only the kind of looks an owner would love. To differentiate the base model from the S edition, they've added front, side and rear sills, as well as a front grille garnish. The car comes in 6 colors. You've got a vibrant orange, red and blue, as well as 3 plain colors, silver, gray and white. I of course prefer the vibrant colors because, you know, I need all the aesthetics I can get. Let's go back to the budget. The entry-level Suzuki S-Presso will cost you just under 163,000 Rand. With a 10% deposit, it will cost you 2,300 Rand a month. Isn't that cool? But that's not all. You also get a 2-year 30,000 kilometer service plan, as well as a promotional 5-year 200,000 kilometer warranty. Okay, I know. It sounds a bit like a sales pitch, but it actually is great value for money. So, what is my verdict? Well, after experiencing the car for a little bit, I can say that this car has all the little things you might need in a budget car. So if you're trying to get into the entry-level market, well, this should not be such a hard sell.
Welcome back to Ignition GT. An affordable sticker price, which includes a service plan coupled with low running costs, makes the Suzuki S-Presso the ideal car for a buyer on a tight budget. But have our guests been convinced by its value proposition? Gents, what do you think? Now, this is a vehicle that was launched in lockdown. Now, Francois, you drove the car when it first launched. What were your initial impressions on it then?
My initial impressions were so good. I actually recommended this car to a number of people I know, and a friend of mine actually bought one, and she commutes between Johannesburg and Potch about 2 or 3 times a week. So she racked up a considerable amount of mileage in a very short space of time, I think in about 2 years. And she loved it. And also, bearing in mind, she came out of a Mercedes C-Class.
Wow.
And she said to me she never felt unsafe in it, cruised at normal highway speeds, went up and down hills, and the fuel consumption was about half of what she used in her Mercedes.
Wow.
It's kind of one of those cars that, once you've spent a little bit of time with it, you almost can't help but like it. And I think what it offers for the price, it's a very convincing option.
100%. And I mean, I know if you went 10 years ago, people would think we're crazy for saying cars that are 200,000 Rand is decent. But in today's market, things have changed. And speaking about changes, what has changed actually now with this updated S-Presso? Can you tell us, Anton?
Well, the engine is a little bit better. I mean, now it pushes out about 49 kilowatts. It's still a 1-litre petrol engine. They've added Apple Carplay. There's a couple of safety features. There's ISOFIX now all of a sudden in the vehicle. So the NCAP rating is increased on the vehicle.
Yes.
And it did feel a little bit different driving it than the previous model. The previous one always just didn't feel 100% stuck on the road.
Okay.
And this one, you can feel there's definitely a difference in what they did. And Suzuki calls it a micro SUV.
Yes.
And it is micro. I mean, for me, that's a small bloody car. Huh?
So can you actually fit comfortably in that car?
Well, I can fit comfortably in the car. And I mean, the nice thing about that, if I take down both windows, I get both sunburn on both arms. But no, there's enough space. I mean, I wasn't uncomfortable driving it.
This could be a first car for somebody who's perhaps a student, perhaps somebody who's now coming out of public transport and now going into this vehicle. So I think personally, this is a perfect car to recommend for somebody in that space.
The nice thing about this S-Presso is also the fact that it's a little bit higher than normal vehicles in its class. So you can actually get on a gravel road and have your little picnic bag or your fishing rods or whatever and go have your little adventure with this. You don't really need that big 4x4 already. It's a perfect startup vehicle. I mean, for any student, it will be great.
In this price bracket, we don't have a lot of options anymore. It's basically now the S-Presso and the Renault Kwid that competes with each other in terms of size and price.
Which one would you pick, the Kwid or the S-Presso?
I would pick the S-Presso. Suzuki also, they're known for longevity of their cars. They've got a good dealer network now. So, I mean, they even have Suzuki dealers. If you go into the north of Namibia, there's Suzuki dealerships, which I don't think the Renault is not that extensive. So, I'm not saying that the Kwid is a bad car, but I think there are other aspects to the ownership experience that makes the S-Presso would make it my choice.